As a kind-hearted gesture, I always like to compliment beauty, sharing the kind of words that some would find to be flattering in a chorus. Some would find it as just mere words that is heard on a daily basis, but that's just me. But what if there was more behind these words? What if they were the kind of words that struck deep into the core of a human soul, giving enough comfort where one would blindly offer their full trust, completely devoted to the warming praises of being defined as an object of beauty, being worshipped for who they truly are, finally experiencing an inner courage to feel free, exposing this true self with comfort, while remaining oblivious to the horrors that linger behind this heartwarming gesture. Meet now, obviously a girl who's quite attractive, who has her fair share of flattering compliments. But today, my friends, now is about to participate within a unique story when tending to a personal matter. More like a day of being reunited with an old friend from her days in middle school. Maiko, someone who she just recently got in contact with, who was not only excited to meet her old friend, to catch up on things, but most of all, introduce her new boyfriend. And when hearing a familiar voice behind her, Nao's name being spoken with Maiko's own words, Nao did not expect that she would be greeted by a strange-looking man, whose face looked completely misshapen, with swollen eyes bulging from his skull, his skin covered with patches of sickly blemishes and boils, dressed up in a woman's outfit, and sounded exactly like Maiko. Obviously, Nao was confused, actually a bit scared. The man found Nao's reaction both shocking and offensive, emotionally verifying that she was in fact her old friend Maiko. It was 2 years since Nao had seen Maiko, and she was incredibly stunning back then. Whoever this was, it could not be Maiko. It had to be a sick joke, a catfish scheme or something. But when Maiko finally introduced her boyfriend, a handsome young man who introduced himself as Aziri Yuma, well, you could say that Nao began to ease her concerns, and began to reluctantly accept the idea that this person with Maiko's voice was in fact her old friend. Which leaves the questions, what happened to Maiko? And how did she turn out like this? Well, you could say that this was an afternoon that Nao did not expect, that the entire conversation with Maiko was rather awkward, not only because of Maiko's appearance, but the fact that the entire conversation was completely one-sided. Basically, Maiko had this fixation with her boyfriend Yuma, a transfer student who she'd fallen for at first sight. Since the first day they met, he'd been praising her beautiful looks every day at every given opportunity. And even though recently Maiko has been getting this strange feeling that there are these changes with her look, that there was something about Yuma and his praises that eased that concern and brought her this happiness. Fact is, Maiko had never felt like this with anybody else, which is why Maiko trusts Yuma in his kind words. And when Maiko had decided to use the restroom to fix her makeup, that was when Nao decided to take the opportunity of asking Yuma about Maiko's appearance and her strange behavior. Unfortunately, Yuma's response was rather vague or avoidant, claiming that he couldn't see anything wrong with Maiko's appearance, that since the day he met her, her beauty has not faded nor faltered. In fact, if Yuma didn't know any better, he could swear that she'd gotten more beautiful by the day. And not knowing what to make of all this, Nao couldn't help but feel happy for Maiko. Regardless of her appearance or her situation, she was truly lucky to have an attractive boyfriend who knew how to make her feel blessed with his amiable and adoring personality. I guess you can say that Maiko had gotten lucky with this one. But there was something else that Nao had to share. Yes, Maiko is truly beautiful. However, if Yuma were to be honest, she was not as stunning as Nao. Yuma just could not help but admit that Nao is truly one of a kind. unbelievably elegant. So, to spare the details, Yuma ended up ending the relationship with Maiko and immediately got together with Nao. Of course, Maiko was not only devastated by this, but resorted to stalking and constantly pestering the loving couple. Aside from that bit of drama, Nao mostly remembers finding Yuma repeatedly seeking forgiveness from Maiko when she would confront him, finding him on his knees, apologizing for his actions. And even though Nao was a bit off-taken by Yuma's pathetic display of resolving the situation, which wasn't helping by the way, it was something that Nao completely dismissed. It wasn't until a few days later, Maiko ended up disappearing. Eventually, rumors began to circulate that she committed suicide. Thankfully, Maiko's death did not have much of an impact on Nao and her relationship with Yuma. Even though Nao couldn't help but have this strange feeling about Yuma, possibly because of the fact that she did not know anything about him, like where he lives, his family, his background, or anything else. Nothing besides the fact that he's a transfer student from Maiko's school and has this fixation with her appearance. It was like Nao had just jumped into a relationship with some random guy in the most controversial way, which was unlike her. And yet, Nao just could not shake away this inner trust she had for Yuma and his sweet words. Unlike most of the boys she'd been with, Nao had never felt this way towards a guy before, making Yuma the only person who made her feel truly happy, giving her more confidence than she had ever felt before, all because of his constant praises and worship, and they had never gotten old nor tiresome. Nao loved the attention, the feeling she would get every time Yuma would say how beautiful she looked for the 100th time within a single day, where every conversation was about Yuma's fixation with her beauty. But as the days of worship went by, Nao began to have this feeling that something was not right, something challenging that inner pride. As days went by, Nao began to have her own fixation with Yuma's warming affection. Unfortunately, she had also begun experiencing something strange, like there was something about her that did not feel right. Noticing how people would look at her differently, not like they used to. Even her family's reaction was concerning. And when sharing this experience with Yuma, the inner doubt that she wasn't feeling as attractive as she thought. Thankfully, Yuma had a way with words, easing her worries by telling her that she was overthinking this. There's nothing wrong with her appearance. He would say things like how she's a goddess with pristine skin, a face that is the envy of all women, and hearing them sweet words of praise, never failing on bringing that inner happiness within Nao. And even when Nao's family would finally share the concern with their daughter's beautiful appearance, for some reason they would suggest that she immediately see a doctor or something. They would say things like her face was infected with some kind of flesh-rotting disease or skin cancer. Nao couldn't understand why her family and friends were so concerned and cruel with their words. According to Yuma, she was beautiful. Because of him, she had never felt so happy in her entire life. There's just no way Yuma would be lying. And when this strange reaction began to spark an inner doubt within Nao, where curiosity had her reluctantly compare herself with her school photos, she couldn't see what was wrong with her appearance, but felt like there was something different. Her beauty was universal, and yet she couldn't shake away the feeling that there were these changes about her. And remembering Maiko, her hideous appearance, and how Yuma would constantly tell her the same sweet words, could it be possible that Yuma was doing the same thing to her? It wasn't until the following day, when Nao was on her way to confront Yuma with these ideas, that there was something not right about her. That was when she would be teased and horribly insulted by a little girl, calling Nao things like witch, a pig, demon, monster, an abomination that looked hideous. Oh, how the child enjoyed her moment of pointing and laughing at the disgusting monster walking down the street like some goddess. This was when Nao was finally introduced to Chizumi, Yuma's sister, the demonic child who just loved spoiling everything, like when another girl would be too stupid to realize how she'd been duped by her older brother. Every one of them, assuming that they've fallen for some shy boy who's a bit different, completely trusting him because of those sweet, heartwarming words. Of course, them words were sincere, honest, but too bad that they were not directed towards any of the women. No, them words are only meant for the demon he worships. That is who Yuma has eyes for. You see, since Yuma was able to summon a demon when he was a child, who've granted him this power, he's been flattering and apologizing to the demon as offerings. That demon and Chizumi's brother has this telepathy, and those who are in between that connection would either have their brains dissolved, or, well, let's just say that one would begin to physically resemble their inner beauty. Obviously, Yuma's new girlfriend can't deny the reality that her face is rotting away, like all the others, too terrified to accept the truth. And as Chizumi began laughing at the hideous freak, watching her frantically weep and hysterically claiming lies from such a vile child, that was when the scene was interrupted by Yuma, scolding his sister before demanding that she return home. And as Yuma tended to Nao's emotional distraught, easing her from the verbal abuse from his misguided sister, not only trying to seek forgiveness for Chizumi's actions, but to ease her fear of being completely honest with his feelings. The truth is that it is without a shadow of doubt, Nao is the most beautiful woman Yuma had ever seen. Maiko and all the others were no match for Nao's mesmerizing appearance. Her beauty transcends the law of the universe. She is the embodiment of absolute beauty. And looking into his eyes, now, hearing such words of honesty that had washed away every shred of fear and doubt that dwelled within her, regardless of the terrible feelings of her body changing, the cruel things that are said from other people, and their reactions. Watching Yuma proudly confess his love, shouting his vows of worshipping Nao's beauty forever. Such devotion. Now, our foolish girl was fully convinced that she is the most beautiful woman in the world. A few days later, Ozeri Yuma had suddenly vanished, left without saying a word. Yuma was such a kind person, so caring, so unlike him to do something that Nao found to be so cruel. Rumor says that he had transferred to another school, but either way, Nao will never forget him and his sweet words. Oh, how it would always warm her heart when thinking of his praises. I mean, sure, they didn't have the same blissful experience as hearing them directly from his mouth, but her love for Yuma and pride had never faltered. Nao's face had not only decayed, but her skin and eyes were sagging loosely from her face. They say things like she is a freak of nature. Friends and family, random strangers, they would all say mean things about her. A skin deformity, a medical tragedy, God's cruel sense of humor. But no matter what, Nao was literally convinced that she was the most beautiful goddess in the universe.